Okay, I've got the banjo bolt, the double banjo bolt up here. I have it finger tight. Okay, I've not tightened that with a socket yet. The reason we have not done that is we want to come down here and we want to check the alignment of the fitting to see if we need to rotate it, because remember the Spieglers are adjustable and we are not going to have to adjust this side. How does the other side look, Matthias?
Looks good too.
Looks good too. So it looks like the guys did a great job back in the shop putting the lines together, so we don't need to utilize the tools to rotate this. If in fact you needed to rotate this, what you would do is take the line off, okay? Take it over to a vise, right? And you're going to put this tool over the crimp sleeve, rotate it around, and basically we have teeth in here that are going to line up with grooves on the actual brake line crimp sleeve. Put this in a vise, tighten it down to get a good firm grip, put the plastic tool supplied inside the brake line fitting and rotate it as needed. You're not going to get this accomplished just by hand pressure, because remember, this is a hydraulic fitting. This is pressed. Okay, so take it over to the vise and do it. Oftentimes you'll find they do such a good job of the lines, there's no need to do that. Now remember, our stock brake line had this metal bracket, okay, that basically came off the fender here, and it allowed you to have the brake line held in place. All you have to do is bend that open to remove it from the old line. We're going to squeeze it back together here, and we will reinstall that here in just a moment. I'm going to take my banjo bolt, remember, single banjo down here at the caliper. Let's put one crush washer on the bolt through the fitting, the other crush washer. We're going to come over here now, and remember, finger tight. If it doesn't want to go in under hand pressure, we have a problem, okay? That's when you need to stop, take a good look at what you have going on, and correct the problem. Do not just go ahead and force it, okay? Let's go ahead and line this back up here. This mounting bracket goes right through like so. Got a little nut here that's going to go behind the fender. Just going to hold that back there in place. And get that started. We'll just snug this stuff up later on, because the reality is we're not, you know, that's the simple stuff. You guys and gals are going to have no problem putting the nut back on the bolt through the fender, but I've just got that started hand tight. We'll come back to it. You can see how nicely the line is routed here, okay? Here's the ratchet. Remember, if you're going to torque it, how many foot-pounds, Matthias?
12 to 13 foot-pounds.
12 to 13 foot-pounds. But we've all done this enough. That right there is tight enough, okay?
The torques always follow, if you use the steel banjo bolts, the recommended torque from the service manual. Otherwise, if you use our aluminum bolts, use the recommended torque from our installation instructions on the back of the package.
And to get to the banjo bolt up here, we have a pretty tight tolerance here, Matthias, and I'm having a difficult time getting the socket in there. So, and man, this is just really tight in there with the throttle cable and everything. Let's see if perhaps we can't loosen up the throttle just a little bit. I was going to go for a wrench, but even that didn't have enough clearance. I'm going to loosen up that throttle assembly a little bit to get myself some additional room to work with. And there we go. That's going to work out much nicer for sure. Let's make sure we can get the brake lever down far enough. I'm actually going to loosen that up, and I'm going to let the lines come out just a little bit. I think he's going to need just a little bit more room. I'm going to hold the lines now with my hand and tighten it at the same time. Okay, that's better right there. Go ahead and tighten the throttle assembly back up. Where do we go from here, bud? What's next? You've got your line tight?
Yeah, my line is tight.
As is mine.
I have to put some brake fluid in.
Okay, we've got it tied up here.
And what we also always should do is check the whole routing. Nothing gets kinked or shaved anywhere. The best way is even to take the bike out of the stand and turn the steering lock to left and right and check that nothing gets somewhere squeezed in.
For our purposes now, we're going to do that when we're done with the job, so they
when we're
won't really
done.
get a chance to see us do that.
Yep.
Now for brake fluid is a hygroscopic fluid, which means it can attract and retain moisture. Anytime you're servicing your brake system, do not use fluid that does not come from a sealed container. Okay, very important. That's why these are sealed. It's not so they don't spill.
Always use fresh brake fluid. Don't use the container you have already for 3 years on your shelf.
Yeah, realistically, there's going to be just enough in here to get the job done. You may have a little extra left. I mean, you can put it on the
extra.
you can put it on the shelf if you want. You're probably never going to use it. That's the reality of it. Okay, and let's go ahead and get a little juice here in the master.
Paper towels there.
Okay, and let's go ahead. Now, we've got the brake lines on the front. We've got them all mounted up. We've got some fluid in the reservoir here. We're going to put some fluid in the rear reservoir. We're going to cut this off right here because bleeding the brakes is something I think people are going to have a lot of interest in for
Yes.
sure. That's kind of the mystery of the whole job, right?
That's
I mean,
right.
bolting the lines up and stuff, sure, that takes some effort and some knowledge. Bleeding the system and getting it done right so it's actually safe to ride, that's a whole nother story. So we're going to cut here and we're going to come back and we're going to show you how to bleed the brakes.